Hold on to your seats, folks. Welcome to Boardroom Secrets, where we peel back the layers of the world's financial mysteries with a pulse-pounding dive into the truth. On August 15, 1971, a seismic shift rocked the global economy, a moment that seemed ordinary but rewrote the rules of money forever. Buckle up. Fast forward nearly 40 years to 2008, and the world was plunged into one of the worst financial crises in history. Stock markets crashed, banking giants teetered, and governments scrambled with massive bailouts. The economy seemed to bounce back, but something's not right. A creeping unease lingers, like cracks spreading beneath the surface. Is the crisis truly over, or is it just a symptom of a deeper, darker problem rooted in that fateful 1971 decision? Let's unravel the global economy's hidden pyramid scheme and expose the shocking truth. Our story kicks off in 1944 at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, as World War II neared its end. Leaders from 44 allied nations gathered to forge a new global financial order, desperate for stability in a war-torn world. The U.S., flexing its economic muscle, took center stage, and the dollar became the backbone of the Bretton Woods system. Here's the deal. Currencies worldwide would peg their value to the dollar, which was tied to gold at $35 an ounce. Nations could trade their dollars for gold, stored safely in U.S. vaults. Sounds solid, right? Gold was the ultimate anchor, ensuring discipline and trust. But oh boy, things were about to get wild. By the 1960s, the U.S. was spending like there was no tomorrow. Massive social programs and the Vietnam War drained the treasury. Other nations started to panic. Were the U.S. printing dollars they couldn't back with gold? France led the charge, demanding physical gold for their dollars, and others followed. The U.S. gold reserves were bleeding out. Then, on that fateful day in 1971, President Richard Nixon dropped a bombshell. Bam! He temporarily suspended the dollar's convertibility to gold, blaming speculators. Temporary? Ha! That move, dubbed the Nixon shock, obliterated Bretton Woods and birthed a new era, one where money lost its golden leash. Enter the age of fiat money. Fiat, from Latin, means let it be so. No gold, no silver, just paper backed by government decree and public faith. Poof. Money became a promise, not a thing. This unleashed a global free-for-all. Governments could print cash at will, and the U.S. led the charge, racking up deficits every year since 1971. Not a single surplus. This fiat system sparked inflation, eroded purchasing power, and set the stage for a dangerous game. Imagine John, a factory worker in 1970s Ohio, filling his gas tank for a few bucks. Today, his grandkids need a small fortune for the same. That's inflation eating your wallet alive. This new world order turned money into a race to the bottom. Countries devalue their currencies to boost exports, making their goods cheaper on the global stage. When the US dollar, the world's reserve currency, weakens, others scramble to keep pace, flooding markets with more money. The result? A silent tax called inflation. Central banks aim for 2 to 3% annually, calling it healthy. Healthy for who? It chips away at your savings. A dollar today buys less than half what it did in 1980. Families once thrived on one income. Now both parents work, savings are gone, and debt is a way of life. Sound familiar? Here's where it gets juicy. This fiat system mirrors a Ponzi scheme, a global pyramid built on debt. The U.S. Treasury, unbound by gold, borrows endlessly from the Federal Reserve, which conjures money from thin air. The Fed gets Treasury bonds in return, which are sold to banks, pension funds, and foreign governments. Safe as houses, right? Wrong. To pay off old debts, the government borrows more, each loan bigger to cover principal and interest. It's a debt spiral. Since 1971, U.S. debt has skyrocketed, hitting $33 trillion by 2023. Mind-blowing. Every dollar in circulation is born from debt, demanding more debt to keep the system afloat. This pyramid thrives on a global loop. Countries like China and Japan sell goods to the U.S., earning dollars. Instead of converting them, they buy U.S. bonds, lending those dollars back to America. Round and round it goes. The U.S. spends, borrows, and spends again, while the world funds its deficits. But what happens when the music stops? The 2008 crisis was a warning shot. Banks collapsed, markets tanked, but governments and central banks kicked the can down the road with trillion-dollar bailouts, shifting bad debts to the public. Problem solved? Nope. The debt monster grew bigger. Now, the cracks are widening. Consumers, maxed out on debt, are deleveraging, paying off loans instead of borrowing more. Smart move, right? But it's a death knell for a system built on ever-growing debt. If borrowing slows, money supply shrinks, and the pyramid teeters. Policymakers face a grim choice: keep printing money, risking hyperinflation, or let the system crash. Talk about a tightrope. Hyperinflation, where prices soar daily, has wrecked economies like Weimar Germany and Zimbabwe. In 1923, Germans used wheelbarrows of cash for bread. In 2008, Zimbabweans paid billions for eggs. Could the dollar face the same fate? The dollar's dominance hangs by a thread. As the world's reserve currency, it's held in vast quantities globally. But what if trust fades? A failed treasury auction where buyers shun US bonds could spike interest rates, trigger a sell-off, and crash the dollar. Chaos. Central banks like China and Russia are already stockpiling gold, preparing for a post-dollar world. Why gold? It's the ultimate safe haven, scarce, durable, and untouchable by printing presses. Unlike fiat, gold can't be conjured from nothing. It's money that governments can't mess with. Yet whispers of gold manipulation linger. Some claim Western central banks, like the Fed, suppress gold prices to prop up the dollar's illusion of strength. In the early 2000s, the Bank of England sold half its gold reserves at rock-bottom prices, a move many call a blunder. Others allege banks lend out gold they don't have, creating paper gold that dilutes the market. Shady, right? If nations demanded their physical gold back, could the vaults deliver? Rumors swirl that Fort Knox might be emptier than claimed, a scandal waiting to explode. So, what's the way out? The fiat experiment, running since 1971, is buckling. Returning to a gold standard could restore discipline, but governments and banks love their printing presses too much. They're hooked. For individuals, the answer is a personal gold standard. Convert paper wealth, cash, stocks, bonds, into physical gold and silver. Hold it in your hands. As one investor put it, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. Gold isn't just wealth, it's insurance against a collapsing system. In 2008, while markets burned, gold prices soared. Smart money knows. Boardroom Secrets lays it bare. The global economy is a house of cards, built on debt and blind faith. The 1971 Nixon shock unleashed a monster, and 2008 was just a tremor. The real quake is coming. Will you be ready? Arm yourself with knowledge, question the system, and act before the pyramid crumbles. This isn't just a story, it's a wake-up call. Stay sharp, stay curious, and join us next time as we expose more electrifying truths behind the world's biggest secrets.